Hey everybody, I finished work a little bit early today and came over to Boggy Creek Airboat Rides off Southport. To get here, you can take Poinciana Blvd from Kissimmee, go to the end, cross over Pleasant Hill where the road turns into Southport, drive to the end of that road, just a few miles, and here you are. I'll be taking the 1-hour boat ride today. I've done this several times. Frequently when out-of-town guests come, it's a good way to show a different part of Florida and show some of the local wildlife. This cost about $60 for one person for 1 hour. This was about 9:30 in the morning. I guess that's a butterfly cage off to the right there. They have displays of various artifacts of old Florida. This is all at the edge of Lake Toho, which is a fairly large lake, the number 6th largest lake in Florida. Though the deepest point of the lake is only 13 feet, but on this airboat ride you seldom get in more than about 3 feet of water, as most of the wildlife lives in the marshes at the edges of the lake. They have a restaurant here as well, serving barbecue and various other local home cooking type items. Pretty good food actually. And they have several airboats. At the peak of tourist season, all these boats are running. On the boat I took today, probably one of the first of the day, there are only about 6 of us. Lots of pictures showing some of the history of the area. These lakes are all connected by canals with a lock system, and you can actually go from this lake all the way to Lake Okeechobee, and from there out to the ocean, either the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic, by proceeding through the locks. I've personally taken my boat as far as about 80 miles downstream through the path of the Kissimmee River. The canals leading out of the south end of this lake are actually navigable. They're about 20 feet deep, much deeper than the lake itself, and 100 to 150 feet wide. And these canals have existed for a long time.
Talk about some safety stuff real quick. And the first thing, guys, underneath your seats, your life jackets are located right underneath your seats. We have 2 fire extinguishers on the boat, one up front, one in the back, and I also do have a first aid kit up here. Good news, we don't use any of that stuff, and I'll make sure I keep it that way for you on the tour. During this tour, it's going to get real windy. You have the right idea. Turn that hat backwards. Make sure your caps are on real tight or turn them backwards, because trust me, they're going to get away from you, and if they go in the fan, they're never going to come back looking the same way. Wildlife, I'm going to do the best I can, but guys, it is wildlife, and they are not on the payroll. We're going to try our best, and we'll see what we can find while we're out there. And if you guys have any questions for me during the ride, you're absolutely welcome to ask me. Don't be shy. If I don't know the answers, though, normally I just lie and talk about crazy stuff, so be ready for that, okay? All right, let's get rolling.
This guy sitting to my left is on vacation from Denmark, of all places. In case you're not familiar with airboats, these are flat-bottom boats that are powered by an airplane engine attached to an airplane-like propeller on the back. They really don't even need water underneath, so they're perfect for this marsh area where the water levels can vary a little bit. The level of this lake is actually regulated from the lock coming at the bottom, though sometimes with heavy rains from Shingle Creek up north, the lake can get pretty full. But these airboats are basically frictionless on the bottom, and they can even pull up on the grass outside of the lake and get back into the lake if necessary. So they make for kind of a fun ride, even if you didn't have wildlife to look at. I'm filming today with a brand new DJI Osmo Pocket 3 camera that I'm really not that familiar with. The camera does an amazing job of keeping a stable platform, even though you can see the boat is banking from left to right as it negotiates these turns. This is actually a bald eagle flying away with a largemouth bass in his claws. In some parts of old Florida, these airboats are about as common as pickup trucks. These guys are somewhat camouflaged, but there's the first alligator view of the day on the right there.
He just blinked. Did you see that?
So this time of the year is actually the best time of the year to come out during the daytime hours and find alligators. And the reasoning behind that, these things are cold-blooded animals. They like their bodies to be warm. They like their bodies about 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit is a good body temperature if you're an alligator. So that water temperature is definitely a whole lot colder right now. That's going to bring these guys up so that they can come up and grab as much of that sun as they possibly can in an effort to go ahead and bring that body temperature up to that bracket of prep.
Here's another one.
Now, the one thing, guys, when you're looking at alligators, externally they're identical to one another. Males and females look exactly alike. So honestly, I can't really tell you with a true certainty whether that's a male or a female because, again, they look exactly alike on the outside. And that gator you're looking at right there is probably about 8 feet long. So it could be somewhere in between. Anytime you come across a gator that's 10 feet long or larger, that's going to be a male. Females seem to top off at about this size right here. And And then up ahead of you there, if you look, that little bird with the orange beak.
These are not exactly the kind of areas you can take your fishing boat or runabout. This next gator is off to the right. He's mostly hidden, but he is huge.
I'm going to try to get you in position. Look right ahead of you there, inside that hole in the vegetation.
You can see his head, his eyeballs to the left and the tip of the nose to the right, right in the center of the picture. He's not easy to see, but this is easily a 10-foot long alligator with the rest of his body hidden under the water. That distance between the nose and the eyes in inches roughly is equivalent to his length in feet. And this is a big boy.
That's bigger than the other one.
That's good observation. Now, the way you can estimate the length of an alligator, even if you don't see the complete animal,
This next guy is pretty big as well, obviously a bit more exposed.
That's another big one, Hannah.
but for the most part, though, to kind of build on what you were asking me before, you do know they can jump. They have the ability to jump about half their body length out of the water. And for the record, that's why I get to sit all the way up here. But you're good. Again, they don't look at people as a food source. To them, people are essentially trouble. Their primary choices of foods are fish, birds, and turtles. Things that don't fight back, things that they can pretty much just grab, crush, and swallow in one bite. If they're going to fight with it, they're generally not going to be too interested. But this time of the year, they're only going to feed about every 2 to 3 months.
Oh,
Because
really?
again, yeah, it's a cold-blooded animal. Its metabolism right now is a whole lot slower, so they don't need to take in as much calorie intakes this time of the year as they would during the summertime. In the summertime, they'll feed about every week to 2 weeks. They try to keep it down to things like fish, birds, and turtles. Stuff that's not going to give them a hard time or fight, or that could potentially hurt the alligator. Just grab it, crush it, swallow it, and you are done. That's it. Guys, look over here to your left.
This area was full of baby alligators cruising along.
No, just remember, that one can get to be as big as those guys you saw over there, so they don't make good pets. You can't really domesticate them. Can they be conditioned to certain behaviors? Absolutely, but you're never going to domesticate an alligator. They're always going to be alligators no matter what you do. So rest assured, though, I promise you, if there's one, there's more. And you got them on this side? Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
He took off, he ran. And you got to understand, they have that fear. I don't know what this guy's deal is because he just doesn't seem to have much fear. But that one on that side, the minute it saw the movement, it took off. Their chances of surviving in this world is 10%. So even though the mother alligator will have between 20 to 30 eggs in a nest, if 20 of them hatch out successfully, only 2 of them ever grow up to be adult alligators. Everything that you can visualize that lives out here eats these things. I mean, think about it. When you're this big, you're not exactly intimidating to anything out here. So at that stage of the game, they're kind of laying low, hiding in the vegetation and the grass like this, and try to keep away. And there could potentially be a mama nearby that could also provide them protection, because that's her job.
Yeah.
She'll provide the protection for about the first 2.
The high temperature today is supposed to get to 85, so there should be a lot of alligators, cold-blooded reptiles, out in the sun today.
So I think we could probably all agree we've got ourselves a group of males over here. This is something that I generally don't see out here, and when you do see it, I promise you, at some point, there's going to be a battle royal between these alligators over territory. The males, like we talked about before, can be extremely territorial and cannibalistic. And if you're an alpha bull gator, your territory is normally about 2.5 square miles. So once you've established the dominance within that territory, this isn't going to happen. So right now, these guys are probably in about that 10 to 11 foot bracket. At some stage of the game, once it warms up enough and their metabolism kicks in, there's going to be a massive brawl out here for sure.
I think the one over there is a female.
One of the top predators to those baby alligators, like the ones you saw a little bit ago.
Those blue herons eat a lot of alligators when they're babies.
Oh, he's moving.
It is estimated that there are as many as 5,000 to 8,000 alligators on this lake. As we get back to the home base, that's about it for today's tour. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you take advantage of this. Again, it's Boggy Creek Airboat Tours. They have one location on the north end of East Lake Toho, which is near the Orlando International Airport, and then this location on the south end of West Lake Toho. Interestingly, these are two sandhill cranes. The one in the foreground is actually sitting on a nest and has 2 eggs, and apparently will be there another 2 weeks until the babies hatch. We see these all the time in the neighborhood walking around, as I've detailed in other videos, but I didn't realize that they nested right out in the middle of the marsh, surrounded by all these predators. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that important like button. Share the video with friends that have trips to Florida planned. This is a great way to spend an hour or two learning about the parts of Florida that are non-Disney. See you next time.
And they go up into dry land and take them out of the danger of the marsh right here. By the time those birds are 90 days old, they're already as tall as mom and dad are. They just don't get the red crowns on top of their heads.
Get over.